Example 1, in my opinion, is really the entire lesson, but example 2 and 3 in your notes are application problems that you're going to see in your homework that honestly kind of have nothing to do with symmetry, and these actually have more to do with previous lessons. So you do have the information to solve these, but it's not really quite pertaining to lesson 7 material. But anyways, here we go. Example 2 says using the data from 2016 and projected to 2025, the U.S. medical marijuana revenue in billions of dollars can be modeled by the function m of x, where x is the number of years after 2010. So part A wants to know the graph of this function is a shifted graph of which basic function? Wants to know what is the key graph here. So what do you think our key graph would be? Okay, this is my key graph of y, or f of x equals x squared. Why? Because right here we have an x that is being squared. So this is a quadratic. Here's our x squared, our x, and then our constant. So part B wants us to find and interpret n of 24. So this means that my x equals 24. And so rather than writing this entire thing out, we're just going to substitute this in our calculator. So probably would be a good thing to have out. Okay. So let's substitute in. Everywhere we see an x, we're going to put in a 24. All right, so we get 28.261. Okay, so that is my answer. And so now we need to interpret what that means. If my x is 24 and x represents the years after 2010, we are in 2034. So in 2034, what does my y represent? My y is my revenue in billions of dollars. So the U.S. medical marijuana revenue will be $28.261 billion. Okay, now we want to graph my y equals m of x for x representing years of 2016 through 2025. So this in my math lab is probably more than likely going to be a multiple choice where you have to match the graph to the graph of the multiple choice, right? So if x is the number of years after 2010, we're in 2016, we're 6 years past. So this means my x min will be 6. And then here, my x max, how many years after 2010 are we? We're 15 years. So we will put this into our y1, change our x min and x max, and since we have our x min and max, then we will go zoom 0 for zoom fit. And so we're putting in x's, we're not putting in those 24s anymore. Okay, so we're typing all of that in. And then I'm going to go into my window and I'm going to change this from 6 to 15. And then I'm going to go zoom. You can just hit 0, but we're going right here to zoom fit. Okay, so there is my graph. Now, honestly, if we wanted to, we could have kind of used this graph. So if I would have graphed this, I would have probably figured out my graph, and then I could have done this right here by using trace. So if I just do trace 24 enter, we are going to get an error because all I did was make my max to 15. So I would need to come in here. I'm going to change my max to maybe 30, and I'm going to go zoom 0. And now if I do trace 24, we get that same answer of 28.261.